Let's get going. So we're going to call this monthly meeting of Clackamas Fire District #1 Board of Directors to order at 6:00 p.m. per ORS 192.610 to 192.690 per ORS 192.650. This meeting is being recorded. This video recording will be placed on the Clackamas Fire website at its conclusion. Chief Brown, any changes to the agenda?
Mr. President, the agenda is as stands, no changes.
Okay. So did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes from the work session from April 14th? The regular board meeting on April 19th and the special board meeting from April 26th. It looks like Jim's reading it right now. Is there any changes that we need to make to any of the minutes? Okay, hearing no changes, then the minutes will stand as written. Any public comment? Rachel, did you receive any public comment or anybody that wanted to speak prior to the meeting?
No, I did not receive anything prior to tonight's meeting for public comment.
Okay, so I see we have some attendees out there. If anybody wants to speak, you can have 3 minutes. Please raise your hand in the bottom of the screen and Rachel will acknowledge you.
Jay, I am public, but I'm also on the board. I want to welcome our new chief, the first meeting of the new chief.
You know what, Thomas, very good, because we did have a budget committee meeting the other day and I kind of overlooked that, the fact that I thought that was his first meeting, but you're absolutely.
No, I think, no, this is the actual official board meeting of the.
This is the actual board meeting, yes, very good.
Yeah, so I want to welcome Chief.
Thank you so much.
Wish you all the best.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much. It's an honor. Truly is.
Okay. So anybody else want to make, Rachel, anything else? Anybody else want to make any comments?
I don't see any raised hands at this time for any public comment.
Okay, great. So we've got some, actually, first thing we have is a presentation, right, from Carrie Shanklin. Is that right? That's what I'm looking at? Yeah, and then we get into the business items. Okay. Carrie, looks like you're up. Get to talk to us about Ready, Set, Go.
Thank you. I'm so excited to do this. So my name is Carrie Shanklin and I'm a deputy fire marshal. I'm currently assigned to public education for Clackamas Fire District 1. And some of you might not be aware that May is Wildfire Awareness Month. And it's a very good time to plan ahead for wildfire. A lot of times people don't think about things until it's imminent, and we've actually had a wildfire situation a couple weeks ago. So I'm getting a lot more receptive audiences about the things that we could do now to prepare for wildfire prevention, awareness, and just trying to make sure that we don't have a wildfire down the road. The program that we're utilizing is Ready, Set, Go, and it's actually a national program. And earlier this year, we partnered with the Clackamas Emergency Services Foundation, where we asked for some help with some grants, and we put a proposal together and they were super supportive. So this program is in partnership with the Clackamas Emergency Services Foundation. So next slide, please. So what is Ready, Set, Go? The Ready, Set, Go program, it utilizes 3 main principles of wildland fire risk reduction before, during, and after a wildfire, including be ready, where you create and maintain defensible space and harden your home against flying embers. And so a lot of times people have heard that term. What is defensible space? And that's just things that the homeowner can do to make their space more defensible in a wildfire situation. And then hardening your home includes cleaning roofs and gutters, making anything, it's kind of to prevent the embers from potentially starting a wildfire. So the vents, the roofs, under the decks, windows and doors, what can we do to kind of harden our homes to make them more fire resistant? And then the second part is the get set, preparing your family and home ahead of time of the possibility of having to evacuate. Where would we go if we ever had a wildfire? Where would we turn for information? Where, knowing the numbers and just trying to figure out a little bit ahead of time what we would do. And then the go, that's more imminent. When wildfire strikes, go early for your own safety and take the necessary evacuation steps. So those are the three concepts of ready, set, go. So next slide, please. And then also we've utilized the program. Many of you have heard of the firewise program, and that is a program co-sponsored through the NFPA. And it is also a big proponent and an advocate of the defensible space. Currently in our fire district, we have 3 firewise communities. We have Hunter Heights, Beaver Lake Estates, Deerfield Park 1 and 2, and then Happy Valley Heights is in the process of becoming a firewise community. And the Ready, Set, Go program works very well with the firewise community. So we want to maintain the firewise communities that we have and support them the best that we can, and then also implementing the concepts of the Ready, Set, Go program. And so what we've done so far during the month of May, we've been working hard just to create an awareness. I think a lot of an awareness has been created already in the media. We've launched PSAs. We created a video with Steve McAdoo. He was an excellent spokesperson, just talking about the concepts of the Ready, Set, Go program, the defensible space, eliminating ladder fuels, how to create the defensible zones around your house. And he did a really great job with that. We also had 3 ads in the Pamplin media outlets, each week focusing on a certain component of the Ready, Set, Go program. The first one was ready. The second one was set. The last one is, I don't think it's aired yet, but it's coming up. We have also utilized printed materials. We created a brochure. It's in the process of, we've already handed that out to homeowners. Many homeowners have already requested an assessment of their property, just kind of looking for tips and guidelines, just to make sure that their property is safe. And then we've also, because it's been such an prevalent topic in the media, we've also, Brandon has had many opportunities to speak with the media. I've gotten to speak with KXL and Coin, and Tammy has also gotten to speak to the media. So that is the type of the media coverage and safety information that we couldn't even afford to buy necessarily, but they're featuring it, and it really leverages our message. So next slide, please. Thank you. And then, so with regard to the firewise communities, the foundation so graciously gave us a grant to sponsor Firewise Days. And that is essentially when the whole neighborhood or community gets together and works on their community areas or green spaces to mitigate some of their fire risks. And so what the foundation has agreed to contribute a $500 grant for each of our Firewise communities to contribute to their Firewise Days. And so we've reached out to each of the communities, and they're all very receptive, and then they're in the process of scheduling their Firewise Days. And our goal is to have them either rent a chipper or actually hire the fuels reduction, just giving the $500 toward this concept. Chipping is a great alternative to debris burning, which tends to cause sometimes incidents with escaped brush fires. So the next slide, please. Then if the homeowners within Clackamas Fire District 1 aren't part of a Firewise community, the foundation also sponsored 10 grants, $500 grants to be used for fuels reductions or chipper rental. And we put a form on the website, and we've already received, I think, 6 to 7 grant requests. We have 4 more to go, and people were very excited. They have a lot of work to do because of the ice storm, many downed trees and fuels lying around their property. And they were very receptive to an alternative to burning to get rid of some of this debris that's on the ground. So the total project expense so far for the Ready, Set, Go program has been from the PSAs, the printed materials, the grants for the firewise communities, and then also the fuels reduction grants to the individual homeowners. So I'm really excited. I hope it makes a difference. And just thank you. Everyone has been very supportive, and I'm really appreciative of and would be happy to answer any questions. That is all I
Carrie?
have.
Carrie?
Yes.
Well, so are you, for all that, it's about $10,000 budget you are showing on the expenses?
Yes.
And is that 10,000 funded by the foundation?
Yes.
Which
They were
one?
so gracious, and they had received, since the wildfires of 2020, they had received several donations, and they had some money that they were looking to do more prevention. And so they were so gracious, and we were so appreciative, but we didn't have to take any money out of the Clackamas Fire District 1 budget for this.
But that money they are giving, is it from specifically from that wildfire support program we got last year?
I believe that's where the funding came from.
Okay. Did you ever think about, or have you done, is this the first time you're doing this?
Yes, this is the first time that we've made such a concerted effort for this Ready, Set, Go program. We've
The
been
firewise communities?
Yeah, we've been pretty active with the firewise communities, and we will still support them, whatever they need from us. But this is more of a broad-based program for kind of the general public.
My suggestion, I have one addition to what you have done already, tremendous work. But my suggestion is, if you seek funding or support from the communities across the board from our district, it not only creates funding, but also it creates more awareness of the firewise program or the Ready, Set, Go. Ready, Set, Go is a canned program. It doesn't touch people's emotions, but this firewise funding program that you just demonstrated does touch the people's heart. So I think in the future, this might be too late for this year, but in the future, consider reaching across the agent organizations around the neighborhood, organizations like the Chamber, Rotary, Lion, and all those people can help us in two ways. A, funding. B, awareness on how can an average citizen prepare. See, I never knew about the chipper will help reduce the fuel. See, that's make a difference in one person's mind. So these kind of things like that is very important, that we need to take them outside the district. Don't just limit the funding from the foundation.
Excellent. Thank you.
Marilyn has a comment.
Yeah, Carrie, my husband's cousin lives in Beaver Lake Estates, and he called me when this program first was approached to the homeowners association, kind of suspicious about whether it was legitimate. But he was very positive about it after he engaged in it. And so I would say in that community, it's been a success.
Thank you for that feedback. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and Carrie, just to kind of say what Thomas was talking about too, is some of the CPOs. I was just thinking of boring and Eagle Creek CPO too. Something as simple as that groups, we could get involved with them too. And I think you could find, well, I don't know about the funding part, but certainly the awareness part would be huge in those communities as well. So, but who knows out there, you may get some funding opportunities from those groups too. But yeah, strong work. Nice job, Carrie. Nice
Thank
job.
you.
Marilyn, could you look at your chat, please?
So, okay, any other questions or comments for Carrie? All right, thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got a little bit, a few business items we got to take care of, you guys. We've got to, we're going to hear from Battalion Chief Brent Olson now on the Safety Stand Down Week proclamation. So, Chief Olson.
Yeah, good morning or good afternoon, directors. I come before you with business item B1 to request board approval for the proclamation 21-02, designating the week of June 20th through 26th, 2021 as Safety Stand Down Week with the theme Rebuild Rehab. We do this every year in conjunction with other agencies across the nation to bring forth awareness to different safety items surrounding both our career staff and volunteers.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Olson. So anybody have any questions or comments for Chief Olson? Okay. Do I hear a motion from the board to approve proclamation 21-02 designated the week of June 20th through 26th, 2021 as Safety Stand Down Week with the theme of Rebuild Rehab?
So move.
Director Trotter moves.
I second.
Director Searing seconds. Rachel, please call the roll.
Absolutely. Thomas Joseph,
You're muted, Tom. There you go.
Yes.
thank you. Marilyn Wall,
Yes.
Jim Searing,
Yes.
Don Trotter,
Yes.
Jay Cross.
Yes.
Thank you.
And for the directors too, just so you know, Chief Brown and I had a conversation a couple of days ago about proclamations and bringing them to the board. And if that's something we wanted to continue to do in the future, like EMS week and fire prevention week and all the rest of stuff. And actually, I feel it's important that we do that. I think it's nice for us to know what's going on for the fire district. And I think it's nice for the public that tunes into these meetings and people in the public that don't tune into the meetings, but also read the minutes to see these proclamations and the things, the work that's going on in the fire district. So that was kind of where Chief Brown and I left it, as I thought it was important. I do think that this is an avenue for people to see some of the work that's going on in the fire district. So does that kind of sum up what we talked about, Chief Brown, I think?
Yeah, that's exactly it, President Cross. The conversation started focusing more on this safety stand down, being that it's a national proclamation, and it morphed into that conversation. So that was spot on.
Yeah, okay. Okay, next business item is, what we have to do, you guys, is we have to change some, the next couple of proclamations, or not proclamations, but resolutions. We need to affirm Chief Brown as the fire chief for the fire district. And we have to also change the signature, a little bit of the signature card, because the people for Don Trotter, he's one of our signers for our checks and stuff, and so we need to make a change there. And Christina Day, I believe there's another one in here that we've got to do some things for Christina. So that's kind of where we're going with these next resolutions. So let's see, B2. So B2 is going to is a resolution designating the registered agent of the fire district as let's see, help me out here, Chief.
Effective May 1st, Board of Directors of Clackamas Fire District 1 hereby declares its registered agent to be Fire Chief Nick Brown.
Okay, there we go.
And then you need to call the roll.
Yeah.
Oh, we haven't made the motion.
Hang
Oh,
on, I
sorry.
gotta get to it. All right, here it is. I was on the wrong one. So okay, so hear a motion to approve resolution 21-02, resolution designated the representation of the fire district being Chief Nick Brown.
I so move.
Okay, Chief Jim Searing moves. Do I hear a second?
Second,
Marilyn Wall seconds. Rachel, call the roll, please.
Absolutely. Jim Searing,
Yes.
Thomas Joseph,
Yes.
Don Trotter,
Yes.
Jay Cross,
Yes.
Marilyn Wall.
yes,
Thank you.
Okay, the next resolution 21-3 is a resolution designating the appointing power of the fire district to be Fire Chief Nick Brown. So do I hear a motion to approve resolution 21-03 designating Nick Brown as the appointing power of the fire district?
I so move.
Thomas Joseph moves. Or a second?
second,
Marilyn Wall seconds. Rachel, call the roll, please.
Absolutely. Marilyn Wall,
yes,
Jim Searing,
Yes.
Jay Cross,
Yes.
Don Trotter,
Yes.
Thomas Joseph.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. It's nice to get some of that business out of the way like that. So the next thing we need to do, you guys, is we need to appoint 1 or 2 board members to be the signers for, and also to remove Fred Charlton as one of the signers for checks and what have you. So I guess my comments here, just because today's today and tomorrow is the election, and we know Don Trotter is stepping down, and we won't know till tomorrow until what my status is. So I would recommend that we make either Marilyn, Jim, or Thomas those signers, at least 2 of the 3. Do we have any discussion on that?
Mr.
Hey, Jay.
President,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I was, when I'm reading through this, one of the suggestions was to make the secretary treasurer and the president the account signers, which to me sounds like a good policy. If I'm not mistaken, Thomas is the incoming president, right? The next one. And Thomas, it sounds like you're on here already. So you're already a signer.
Not now. I'm not currently a signature right now.
you
Oh, okay.
are-
I thought it said in here,
Sure.
but even if you weren't, if with Thomas as the incoming president, and I believe Marilyn is now the secretary treasurer. So we have that covered. So I would
Okay, let's,
move or make the suggestion that we appoint Thomas and Marilyn to those designated positions.
Jim, let's hear what Christina has to say about this. Make sure that we dot every I here.
you, Mr. President. So, excuse me, yes, we have a lot of changes to make to the bank account. And my thought was similar to what Director Searing is saying, is rather than change names, between signers and officers all the time, especially every time the board does an election, we should be doing this because the director's positions change on the board, somebody else is president. My suggestion is to appoint as part of a policy that the, 2 positions, for example, president and secretary treasurer, are designated as officers and account signers on the bank account, along with the fire chief as an officer and account signer, and the chief financial officer as an officer only, not a signer. And then you wouldn't need to redo this every year. The other option, if you want to leave it like it is by appointing individuals, it just means you would need to take this action every year.
So, okay, so let me back up again. Let me kind of restate that. So you're thinking we should make a board policy change instead of a resolution on this, in this case, or make a resolution that we make a board policy change? Is that what you're stating, what you're saying?
Something like that, yeah. I don't need it and the bank doesn't need it to be a resolution, but it just kind of I think makes sense. That way, whoever is elected secretary treasurer, for instance, would know that, okay, now I'm on the bank account. And the CFO would still need to send in the minutes from each meeting after the elections that the board holds. Just to tell the bank, here's who the new secretary treasurer is, and therefore the new account signer.
Okay. Jim, any discussion on that? Any thoughts on that? Does that?
No, yeah, that makes sense. That's kind of what I was reading into this. So that makes sense. President, secretary, treasurer, I would concur with that.
Yeah, any other, yeah, Marilyn?
Well, my only question, Christina, is whether the absence of a direct election, if you will, that says these people are appointed to be signers is going to be acceptable to the bank. Usually they're so picky about everything. But if you're confident that just the naming of the position and not sending them every year a signed card with people's names signed on them is acceptable, then, that seems like a reasonable resolution.
This is my understanding right now from working with the bank. That's not to say they can't change it for sure in a year, but what they asked for from us was just minutes saying who was the new signer and what their titles were, and their position on the board. You'll probably, I know you'll still have to submit like the social security number and perhaps a signature and everything. It just wouldn't take another board action. I think that's the only thing, that this would be hopefully taking out.
I know that in the past, and I'm sure you're right, Christina, because I know in the past in nonprofits that I've been involved with, when we did have elections of individuals at our annual business meeting, that's exactly what we did. We just sent them a copy of the minutes from those elections, and the bank took that. Of course, we did have to do the signature card thing, but they took the minutes as the authorization. So, any other discussion on that topic, you guys? Okay. So let's see. It's been a while since we've made a change to the policy document. I don't actually have the board policy document here where I'm at right now. I've got it on the shelf at home, but I'm not home. So do we have a place where we can put that? Chief Brown, is there a place maybe we can add that kind of thing to the policy manual? And then obviously we'll have to bring it back for approval, but I'm sure there's some place in there we can add it.
Yeah, we'll dive into that. Rachel, we look into that and then we'll report back.
Okay. So maybe we can, everybody okay with if we get some language put into the policy manual by the next board meeting, and then we can approve that change in the next board meeting? Does that
Yes.
work for everybody? Okay. All right. Chief Brown, does that work for you and your staff?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. All right. I got my minutes out of order here again, as I usually do every week. Okay. Okay, we're down to other business. OB1, legislative updates. Is Jenna with us tonight? I did get an email from her, so.
I don't see her on the list currently. I was just double checking that here.
Okay, well, I did read her email, so I got that.
She sent an updated summary version this week.
Yeah, I got that. Okay. Board committee and liaison reports. Joint Oversight Committee, Director Searing, Director Trotter.
You want to go first,
Go
Jim?
first. The Joint Oversight Committee, which is our committee that meets with Estacada's directors and the staff from both agencies. We met last week on May 12th. The transition was reported to be going very well from Estacada's temporary chief. Chief Dieters gave us a good update. One item that was discussed is Estacada may be reevaluating and coming to us asking for an IGA. They mentioned perhaps fleet and or any other potential ideas. They shared that they were told by our previous chief that we weren't up for any IGAs of any kind, which we shared with them. Well, that wasn't true. We never had those discussions, either the committee nor the board. So we shared that if they were open to an IGA, if it made sense, obviously they'd have to bring it forward. We'd have to discuss and approve it if it was financially viable. So, don't then be prepared for that to possibly come up at some point soon. We shared with them keep our communication open and our trust open as we go forward. And hopefully we can continue to have meetings with them after July 1st. And they shared with us that they appreciate Chief Dieters and our crews that are assigned to Estacada that are helping and assisting everything as they're moving along. And other than that, unless Chief Dieters has anything to share, and Director Trotter.
Yes, I have one item. One of the things that was discussed was they are reviewing the contract and the money that's been spent so far to review for the final payment. So that'll be coming up next month.
Okay, thank you for that. Chief Brown, anything to add to any of that?
No, nothing further.
Okay, great. Okay.
Jay, before you move forward, I have another comment I'd like to make under liaison.
Absolutely.
Under the foundation.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about money. In our last meeting, I had talked about the wildfire relief fund, and I was asked how much money was received and how much was distributed so far, and I didn't have that information. I said I would present it tonight. So far, we have received $199,348.27. And so far, we have distributed $122,812.80, which leaves us remaining balance of $76,535.47. So earlier, we were talking about Ready, Get, Set, Go program. And so if more funding is necessary, they could request it, and perhaps the foundation will be willing to give us more money.
Don,
Yes.
is that 76,000 that is left? Is that a restricted fund?
It is and it isn't. It is that it was donated to give money to people for the wildfire relief.
Correct.
And the foundation board could make some changes perhaps, but that's something that would have to be brought forward.
But that is illegal though. It has to be with the concurrence of the donors. The board cannot make that change.
Yes, I understand that. That's what I said. They'd have to decide what else was needed to be done before that could happen.
Okay, so that is the restricted fund that actually originally came in.
Yep.
Thank you.
That's all I had on it. Thank you, Jay.
Okay, any other committee or liaison reports that we want to talk about on this point? It's not on the agenda. All right, super. So we are now down to board informational reports. We've got something on the recruitment process from Chief Steward.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'm happy to say that we have someone selected who's made it through their background check that came back today. So they have their work agreement in front of them. We're waiting for them to notify their employer, but we are expecting the successful candidate to come join us on June 7th.
What position are we talking about?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the Chief Financial Officer.
Okay. I knew what you're talking about, but I wanted you to know. So did you make an offer and he accepted that, he or she?
Yes. Yes. So we're just hopefully the candidate will let their employer know, and so we can all start to talk about this person not in the anonymous third person. But yeah, I think we originally had 31 applicants, all very well qualified. We got down to 5 for the chief's interview. And this individual, they were all high caliber candidates, but this individual in both of the panel interviews and then in the chief's interview was a standout. So I think all of the about 14 people who got to see this person are really excited and looking forward to the person coming on board.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So great. Thank you for that, Chief Steward. Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Chief Steward on the Chief Financial Officer recruitment process?
Literally just got off texting with him, and he's just asking until we wait till Wednesday to mention his name. So after Wednesday, we'll be able to mention his name.
Okay, good.
You mean this Wednesday or next week?
He said Wednesday. I'll see him tomorrow, so I'll double check, Thomas. I'll let you know.
Okay, so we might be able to talk about him on Wednesday night. Okay, great. All right. I guess the only thing that I want to bring up, actually I have 2 things I want to bring up. First of all, for anybody that is here tonight that wasn't privy to the budget committee, we did start the budget committee meetings last week. And we have another one scheduled for Wednesday, the 19th is our second one. And then our third one, if necessary, is the 27th. So you're certainly, everybody here and anybody else, you're welcome to join and listen into the budget committee on Wednesday night if you like. I'm sure you can find that link on our website. The other thing too, informational items for everybody. Had a meeting today with the players from Multnomah County, including Dr. Jew and some others. And as you know, the CDC is relaxing some of its mask mandates, both in the public setting and also in the workplace. The Oregon OSHA has yet to approve those things. So the medical directors are making some recommendations to the agencies. I'm not sure Heather and Josh and you guys have heard anything about that, but OSHA, CDC is supposed to be working with OSHA this week, and they expect Friday for OSHA to come out with the approved new mask wearing at the workplace updates. So keep your eye close to that. Obviously, if I get something on Thursday and Friday, I will forward it to you, Chief Yerke, if I see anything. But I do expect it to come out Thursday. It is a welcome relief. I will tell you what we heard today. What we heard today in our meeting is going to be a much welcome relief for everybody, especially our crews on the responding to calls. So I just wanted to kind of say that that's happening literally this week. So that is all I had. Any questions on that CDC stuff? Okay, great. All right, informational items. Let's see, Chief Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. As far as the reports under the Fire Chief's office, everything is as submitted, and be happy to answer any questions from the board.
Anybody have any questions for Chief Brown on his report? Okay, thank you for that, Chief Brown. Chief Whiteley, Business Services.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. My report is as submitted and always happy to answer your questions anybody has for me at this time. And I believe I see Director Noble's on as well. So if you had any questions specific to her, I'm sure she could answer those as well.
Oh, any questions about Chief Whiteley's report or Trish? Okay, great. Thank you, you guys.
Thank you.
Financial services. Annalie? There she is.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President and the member of the board. My report is as submitted, and I am more than happy to answer if you have any questions.
Yes, Marilyn.
Thank you. Yes, and I have a question on the first page of the report, which is sort of the summary. It said that as of April 30th, 2021, the fiscal year is 83.3% completed. And yet under the salaries and benefits, we've expended 89.3% of the budget. So what steps are being taken to adjust for that 6%, which is?
For the first, oh, sorry, you go ahead.
I'm done. Thank you.
For the first one, the 83%, that one is simply the percentage. We took the 10 divided by 12, so 10 for been 10 months until April, and divided by 12, so that's how we get to 83%.
Yeah, I understand that, but in terms of the expenditures in the blue area, it says salaries and benefits, 89% have been spent, and yet we're only 83% through the year. So there's a disconnect between how much we're spending for salaries and benefits versus where we are in the fiscal year. So is there something being done to proactively manage that?
Director Wall, I can take that question if that's okay.
Fine with me. I'm sure it's fine with An.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So the 6% increase that you're seeing is a vast majority of that is from the September wildfires that we're still waiting for reimbursement from the state on, as well as the ice storm and increase in COVID leave. So that's why you're seeing that increase, and steps to being taken to bridge that gap is we applied through the state for reimbursement for that increase in personnel costs for the wildfires. And as far as the ice storm, there's been zero opportunities for reimbursement, as well as the COVID leave. Our county is too small to be able to participate in the Josh Santos, will you help me with the CARES Act? The CARES Act as far as funding for reimbursement for COVID leave. So it's one of those situations that we are spending more than what was budgeted for, and so we're trying to curb the amount of moves that we do to try to curb costs and limit cross shift moves. But other than that, that's what our plan is as we sit.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Any other questions for Anli? Okay. Support services, Chief Carlson.
Mr. President, members of the board, the report is as submitted.
Jay, I have a question for Director Valance under that category.
Yes, Marilyn.
Is he on?
I am.
Good.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yes, good evening.
So, Scott, your report mentions the roundabout at Station 6 hasn't died. How do you anticipate this affecting the usefulness of the station?
So that's a very good question. We anticipated affecting the usefulness of the station considerably. My understanding is, and Chief Brown, correct me if I'm wrong, that he had a conversation with the city last week. We have been up there a number of times looking at what it is that they're proposing. The crew laid out sections of hose so we could get a visual of what it's going to do to the station. And we have a number of concerns. I'm compiling a list of those to give to Chief Carlson, I believe, to pass on to the city as well. It's not pretty. We've spoken out against it. I had a chat with the city 2 or 3 years ago now, when they were originally proposing this and putting it into their plans, but they haven't slowed down. They actually moved it to that intersection from the one just to the east of there because they didn't want 2 roundabouts on that north-south thoroughfare at that intersection. So unless there's some further information that the chief has about their discussions with the city, if they in fact have had those. I don't know what we're going to do at this point. It brings it within 12 feet of the front of the station. We have safety concerns. We have noise concerns. We have access concerns during and after construction. And I believe Chief Brown would have to tell you if any of those came up in the conversation or if they've been addressed by the city.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Thank you, Scotty. Director Wall, Chief Paxton and myself met with the city last week and discussed this, and they've asked for a list of our concerns to be brought forward. They're still in the developmental stage of this. This roundabout is going to happen for the city, but they're looking at ways to make it easier on fire response. They've trimmed in the driveway slightly. The apparatus is going to be able to respond. They're looking at a rolling curb, so to speak, in the roundabout so that the engine with lights and sirens could go any direction it needed to go in the event that there was a stalled vehicle. They're wanting to work with us, but they are needing to put it there, and it is going to encroach on fire district property. They're eminent domaining the fire station. There was also talk about the backside of the fire station being an eminent domain as well. They are not going to utilize that unless we sell the property. So the cramping in on the backside of the station has gone away, but we still have the roundabout concern, and they've asked us, and Chief Paxton is heading us up with Scotty and Mike Carlson to give them a list of our concerns, i.e. a retaining wall in front of the station for protection for a vehicle. It's things like that. And so we're going to bring them forward the list. And as soon as we get that list compiled and move it forward to the city, I'll give you an update.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for those guys?
Hey, Jay.
Yes, Jim.
Sorry to go back one report. I apologize, but I just wanted to ask in regards to the financial report, a couple of us had asked about a year ago if we could have whether it's a work session or some type of update of how you read these munis reports, because before it was the financial report was 2 or 3 pages and it's really easy to understand. I always got it. But to me, this is 22 pages of page after page. And it's never been explained to us how to read it, what it means and what we look for. So to be honest with you, sometimes I don't even offer any input because I don't even know what it says. I just hope that Director Wall catches things and I follow her lead, but that's me. So I just would hope with the new chief and the new finance director coming in, if somehow we could, I don't know the best way to do it is, but I just felt the need to say that again because I said it a year ago.
Jim, I keep praying Marilyn stay on the board so that she will ask all these details.
Well, that's what we're going to have a new CFO for. And, we did have that work session scheduled, but it happened in September and the wildfires intervened. But I still agree with Jim that we should do that.
Yeah, and also, just so everybody knows, Chief Brown and I have had a few discussions in the last several weeks about having a work session, and we have kind of been sharing some ideas back and forth of what kind of things that we thought we should be talking about, having a very fruitful and meaningful work session. So I think Chief Brown will probably put that down on his list of things for that work session. But I think this is a great topic for us to discuss at that work session, because that's one of the things that we both agreed on moving forward is we would like to have a educational and opportunity, an interactive, very interactive work session the next time we do it. So, but yeah, Chief Brown, anything else on that?
No, just expect a doodle poll be sent out at the latest next week.
Okay. Yeah, and obviously the other part of this too is we need to let our CFO get, figure out D1. Once they figure out D1, then maybe we can kind of help him, and he can help us moving forward too. So, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be a big jump for him. So, okay. Next thing on the agenda, let's talk to Chief Steward on community services.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. President. The report is as submitted. I just like to highlight one piece. We hired a IT technician 1. So Bob Everidge started with our IT services department Monday last week. We're excited to have him. That's it. And happy to answer any questions.
Great. Marilyn. Marilyn, you're muted.
I have a question for Director Hopkins if she's with us.
She is on.
Okay, so Shelby, there's this new time apparatus committed section of your report now, or I guess it's yours, since it's under the data. Maybe you're the wrong person to explain it, but I don't understand what it's telling me.
Sure. Chief Mulick, are you okay with me answering this question?
Absolutely, Shelby. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so the apparatus time committed report basically just shows the units and the cleared responses that they were committed to, the total time of committed hours that they were committed to incidences, and that percentage based on the number of hours that they were in service in a 24-hour time period, with the exception of Engine 318 and Medic 316, because those are not for 24-hour shifts. So basically what this is stating is, for example, Engine 301 cleared 287 responses. Of those responses, they were committed to 69 hours, 69.40 hours, which adds up to 9.64% of their time staffed 24 hours in that month. I hope that made sense. At 24 hours a day in 31 days in April, is there 30 days in April? So that's how their time was spent committed to incidents.
So the total time committed, how is that measured?
Total time committed is committed from dispatch to cleared of each incident that they went on, equated to minutes and hours, divided by the number of possible hours staffed in a month. So 24-hour days over 31 or 30 days in the month.
Okay, thank you.
And also, Shelby, first of all, I want to thank you for putting that graph in there. I'm guessing that this probably came a little bit from the conversation we had a few weeks ago. That, but it does do a much better job, in my opinion. It does a much better job of showing the time commitment that our resources are responding to calls, or more specifically, the time they're available to respond to calls as well. Run numbers, as we've talked about many times before, as a run number does not really account for time. It's just a number. It's just a volume. But time, once you start adjusting time and seeing how much time your vehicles are available, then you can watch that over time, and you can get trends, and you can start seeing trends. And when you start seeing that your units are not as available as often, now you can start actually making decisions. And you can start seeing where you need to put your money, or whether you need to move a vehicle or add a vehicle or whatever, but you can't do that with run numbers. So Shelby, thank you. I think this is a great addition to our monthly report. But anyway, yes, Marilyn.
Well, I don't know if Shelby needs to answer this, or the Chief Mulick does, about the mutual aid schedule that's right there. I don't know who's going to do it. But the question I have is, like, for example, Canby, of course, in April, it says there were 20 given and 1 received, but it also said the number of apparatus canceled en route were 21 apparatus to 0, and those that arrived were 5 to 2. And I just can't figure out how many I mean, we had 20 incidences and 21 people went, or we had 5 incidences and 20 apparatus went, or what?
Did you want me to answer that, or would you like to answer that?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the graph real quick, Shelby. This really goes into the same conversation as President Cross had mentioned about just the information on how often the give take on a mutual aid, and you can break it down to the time commitment that we're out of our area, and the time commitment that maybe somebody comes into our area. So breaking down, Director Wall, some of the just the looking at the column graphs and things like that, sometimes it's kind of hard to differentiate, but you can really kind of see where our users are, and the consistency with that being Canby Fire District and Gladstone and Sandy, who we're working with that through with the command and control and an IGA with. But yeah, there's a lot of ways to look at this information, but it doesn't lie when you see an 81-to-1. It does absolutely stand out in the give take and a mutual aid agreement.
Yeah, it definitely stands out. But also then the difference between the units that arrived, they said in April only 5 units arrived and 21 were canceled en route for 20 incidences. So I mean,
So it's really common if you look at obviously when an agency is taxed and they have resources out on calls, and we send a apparatus as a mutual aid from a further distance, a lot of times just in that drive time, that situation mitigates itself and a unit becomes available and can respond to that call from their fire district, and they put in a recall for the mutual aid apparatus. So that does happen quite often, where at the moment of dispatch, they can't take care of all their emergencies, but within 5 or 10 minutes, they can break somebody free and get that cleared up. So that's why you do see those recalls, and we do end up just returning back to quarters.
And Chief Mulek, just to add on to what you're saying, also, Marilyn, I think this is one of the pieces is that during April, we had quite a few wild grass fires, so you had one incident that was a grass fire, but that might get 5 or 6 Clackamas Fire rigs responding to it that might get recalled because a closer apparatus gets there. So that's why you'll see a certain number of incidents, but yet more apparatus responding. It could be a house fire, a wildfire, a major car accident.
Okay, thank you. But I agree with that 81-to-1 is not an acceptable ratio. Thank you.
Yes, and 46% of the time in April, our units were canceled to calls for mutual aid. So,
okay, thank you, Shelby.
Thank you, Shelby.
Thanks, Shelby.
Yes, Jim.
And I concur with Director Wall. Some of these numbers are the most out of whack I think I've ever seen. And I know we've talked, and I know Chief Brown wants to work on getting that work session scheduled about mutual aid and what it means and what are we really obligated to do, and specialty teams, cost recovery, all that. So I know, in the coming months that will, I think, help talk about a lot of this. What are we really obligated to do? Sandy, we have such a good partnership with them now. They're paying for command and control and the effective response force, and now they're helping staff a station on the border. So, those numbers look great to me. No concern at all, but a lot of the rest of these just seem like they're getting more and more out of proportion. But that's it.
Okay. So any other questions or comments for Chief Steward or his team? Okay. Anything else, Chief Steward?
No, thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Okay. All right. Emergency services, Chief Yerke.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. You've got the medical services report, and I want to just point out some highlights. Obviously, the 14,000 people that have been vaccinated by the medical services team is a big deal. I'm very proud of them and what they've done, and they've got 12,000 scheduled, and I'm going to guess that when we actually type this up, that number's already changed, and Josh has more on the list. So that is really exciting. And then a couple things I wanted to point out from Chief Santos's report. One, I've been with medical services here for a while, and I still couldn't tell you what CAHOOTS stands for. So I think he's probably going to have to shed light on that, but it does discuss all the details within the work that they do. So that's telling. The two things I wanted to point out is just that Chief Santos obviously has been working at the county level on our EMS system, but he's not neglecting any of the details around the fire district. He's been working hard on our ambulance service billing and the cost recovery pieces to try and maximize and quote unquote work on the business and make this good for us. So I just wanted to highlight that, and I'll be handing it over to him here in just a second. On the community paramedic front, I just wanted to highlight that Amy Jo Cook has been actually doing home visits, had several home visits, and a lot of referrals from our crews. So I just wanted to highlight that work. That was a question many months ago, at least during the height of the COVID stuff. And then as far as wellness, Director Goodrich has just done an amazing job. And if you look through her report, it just shows how much interface there is with all of our people, keeping them healthy, all the testing that wellness is involved in, hearing conservation, baseline physicals, respirator clearances, and taking care of our people. I just wanted to highlight that they're working hard and doing awesome stuff. Then lastly, the training division. There was an ATO recruitment, and that process concluded, and we have firefighter McMurdy, who was selected to take over for Lieutenant Meyer. And then that the probationary testing for recruit class 20-02 has concluded, and they passed their skills. And so big congratulations to them. That is all I had highlighted to share. I'd be happy to answer any questions and hopefully get them answered for you.
Any questions for Chief Yerke? Okay, Chief Santos, did you have some things for us?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I just want to touch base and let you guys know this week is EMS week, May 16th through the 22nd. This is the 46th annual National EMS Week. Fun fact, in 1974, then the President Gerald Ford authorized EMS Week to celebrate EMS practitioners throughout our nation. This year is a little bit more specific and I think a little bit more special and or dynamic in that we're in a global pandemic. So for the last year, our crews have been in a constant wave of flux in terms of changing policies and procedures. They've been forced to wear extensive levels of PPE, including very sweaty and hot Tyvek suits and big heavy masks and face shields to perform work on these patients. They've been exposed to COVID positive patients throughout this year at a rate that we can't really imagine as we sit quarantined in our homes. So we're grateful for them this week and every day. So this week, during our organizational briefings, we're going to recognize them. Unfortunately, it's not in the way that we would like to see it, which is in person. And hopefully next year we'll be able to do that. But we definitely want to thank them for their service, all that they're doing. We've been very healthy as an organization and as an employee group. It's exciting to see that because it's been scary times. So also one other highlight with COVID vaccination front. So we are, as Chief Yerke had highlighted, we are very much involved in partnering with the county right now in delivering COVID vaccinations throughout our county. We're delivering all three of them, Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson. And we're doing it at a more heavier, vast rate as we get better at the systems. But now, given the guideline changes, we're happy to announce that we're able to vaccinate our families at a more readily pace. So tonight, as a matter of fact, I'll be sending an email to everybody. We'd like to let everybody know that this weekend, Friday and Saturday, we'll be at the Clackamas Town Center. On Friday, we're going to be delivering Moderna vaccinations. On Saturday, we're going to be delivering Pfizer vaccinations. And we would like to invite our family members to come out to the town center and get vaccinated. No appointments are needed whatsoever. You would just show up, get in the line and sit. And when you show up to the greeter, you would say that you were invited by Clackamas Fire and you're part of the Clackamas Fire family. This is very legal, and this is above board by every stretch. And we're just ready to vaccinate all of our county. So that is what I have. And as we have more opportunities for COVID vaccination pods throughout our county, I or the team members will send out emails to alert people of these opportunities so they can go get vaccinated. And I see some hands raised everywhere, and I'm happy to take them one by one.
Josh, could you repeat the Moderna, Pfizer, what days?
Yes, and again, I will. This will come in an email as well to everyone. But this Friday, the 21st, Clackamas Town Center, we will be delivering Moderna. That is from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And again, just show up, and when you meet the greeter, let them know you're a Clackamas Fire family member, and off we go. They'll get you vaccinated. They'll get you your verification card, and they will they will notify you of your second dose date. So everything will be handled right there. Saturday, the 22nd, is going to be Pfizer. Again, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And same terms, just show up, you're a Clackamas Fire family member, and we'll get you the Pfizer vaccination. And just for everybody's records and knowledge, Pfizer, you can go down to 12 years old. So if you're 12 years old or older, you can get the Pfizer vaccination. For Moderna, it's 18 years or older.
But they have to have a family member present with them.
Yes, sir. Well, if you're that young, you should have a family member present, yes. But otherwise, just let them know you're part of the Clackamas Fire family. And I see Greg Ramirez's hand up.
Yeah, Chief, I just wanted to again point out, I think monthly we report surge participation in that vaccination process. But I just wanted again to highlight their work because they've really gone above and beyond. I think this is a change for CERT. In the past, they weren't necessarily amiable to doing tasks like this, but now they're seeing the great good it does for the community. Last month alone, over 50 volunteers contributed well over 250 hours, and that was just last month alone. So they're on track to do great things again this month.
Yeah, thank you so much for highlighting that. It's truly amazing. The CERT team and the volunteers have stepped up tremendously to come in these efforts, and they're organized, they're structured, they come and they're ready to go to work. And I say this completely candidly, we could not do it without them. It's amazing how with such a long endeavor and so many different pods, it gets exhausting for everybody, and people have lives and they have other priorities. And so it's hard to keep everybody there, and it takes a lot of staff to put on these pods. So we're grateful for the CERT members. We're grateful for our volunteers, and then our career folks who are stepping up to help deliver vaccinations as well. Thanks, Greg. And that is it. If I can answer any other questions. Otherwise, I'll let you move on with the evening.
Okay, any other questions for Chief Santos? All right. Next thing is, it looks like operations. Chief Mulek.
Hey, good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. Nick's report that I'm reporting on, if that makes any sense, is as submitted. I just want to throw out a couple notes. One of them, Chief Yerke already touched on, but tomorrow, May 18th, it is the off probation benchmark for class 2002. 7 members of the Clackamas Fire family, ranging from their first fire job with no experience to 17 plus years of experience, adding to our arsenal of just outstanding employees. So congratulate the 7 of them if you see them in passing. You'll notice in the report that for the month of April, we've actually been running brush fires, and it's no surprise to anybody that the National Weather Service has said that April is the record lowest moisture in or driest April in history in record. So the uptick in responses has been noted. As far as the organization, we have come just so far since September. The engagement from our companies, the improved communications that that Chief Carlson's been working on, and with Director Cordes out of logistics. It's been outstanding. Our organization is in the middle of or just finished up the wildland refresher. Cruise route taken initiative. We've added a type 3 to our arsenal this year out of Station 10, type 3 brush rig. We're getting the conflagration roster going here starting June 1. Really taking the initiative. We have a lot of energy, and our crews have just performed outstanding. Rest assured, there is lots of work to do, but we are well on our way in the wildland setting. So wanted to give you that, just a bit of encouragement, and our crews have just been outstanding in their efforts. Any questions for me?
Yeah, thank you for that report, Chief. Chief Brown and I were just talking a few days ago about how dry May has been as well, and the fact that we're never in high fire danger in May, never, and we're usually in low to at worst moderate, and I think we already hit high this month, if I remember right. So it's and I know that the weather guessers are also saying that it's supposed to be a very dry, one of the driest Mays on record as well. So.
Yep, and Greg Ramirez has been involved in a lot of these meetings, county and statewide, and he actually just sent us an update today, I believe on a May 13th article that came from the National Weather Service, and it's just echoing what you're saying. The really good thing about this that I see with our organization is that there's a level of awareness right now that we know that we're in that mindset, and with this early recognition and the big fires that we've had already this year, being in that mindset this early is healthy for us to be able to combat these things. The first one might have taken us a little bit by surprise, like, hey, we're actually in this early. I think everybody's just aware that we are going to have a grind, and everybody's preparing for it. So it's really crazy to see what this weather trend is doing.
Well, and to back up a little bit too, I would have to believe that what Carrie's got going on too, there are probably lots of opportunities out there for not only to share with what she's got going on, but opportunities to take donations for that same thing too, just for exactly what you just mentioned. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so, all right, very good. Any other comments or questions for Chief Mueller? Okay, good enough. Thanks, Chief. Okay, let's see. Next up is Mark Corliss from Local 1159.
Hello there. Calling live from Station 16. How are y'all doing?
Okay.
I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, that is pretty short report. But
President Corliss, we can see you. Where are you? Are you here?
He's right there in the middle. Yeah.
So you always have to be surrounded by people?
No, we're all 6 feet apart.
I know. Corliss, well, Mark, it is really nice to have you joining the board and updating us. And I think it's a welcome change. And we appreciate that, your initiative in taking this presence in the board meetings.
Yeah, no, I'm happy that you extended the offer. Most of the time, this is going to be a shop thing with Andrew Gordian. As a president, I'm a little bit more overarching and try to keep out of shop business, which is something that is going to be a shop thing that Gordian and his stewards do. But I'm happy to fill in, and today was one of those days they needed me to fill in. So,
well, thank you for that. Thank you for that, Mark. And thank you for your report as well. That's good stuff. So we appreciate that. Appreciate you. So, okay. Any no questions for Mark at all, or the local? Okay, good enough. Moving on then. Thanks, Mark. We've got volunteer services. Chief Dieters.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. A couple of things to highlight on the report. Training was search and rescue skills, rope skills, a little bit of ladders in there as well. And then EMS was ventricular assist devices. And then the support folks also attended the suppression drills. Still no activity from the explorers yet. And then station coverage. Station 12 was 22 nights out of 30. Station 13 was 18 out of 30. And Station 18 was 30 out of 30. 21, which is the rehab station, was 21 nights, or I'm sorry, 15 nights out of 30. And then the from home duty shifts that were covered was 18 out of 30. We did have a personnel change, EMT, paramedic, Chris Evenson resigned. And then also firefighter EMT, paramedic Bradley Moe. At the time of this writing, he had resigned, but is now reinstated. So you can strike his name off there. He is back. And I am happy to answer any questions before turning it over to President Hamley.
Any questions or comments for Chief Dieters? Jim?
Yeah, Steve, thanks for that update. The station coverage numbers I was looking at, and they're all very good. Even the rehab in Station 21 numbers look real good. So that's greatly appreciated. Station 18, 30 out of 30. I was curious, beginning in just a month and a half when we staffed that 24/7, have we figured out yet where all those volunteers will go? Do we know what the other priority station is? I know with some of the Sandy meetings, we talked about their Dover station. We've only got 2 left after this. So I didn't know if that was discussed yet, or are you still in the planning mode on that?
So yes, we're still in the planning mode of that. There's going to need to be a little bit of equipment swapping and all that. I need to work with Chief Mulick. If you remember right, when we did the priority staffing a few years back, that was in coordination with the ops chief then, and then the board, to make sure that we were all on the same page and we were putting the people where you guys thought the priority should be based off of the information that we gave you. Right now, we know we have 2 stations, so more to come on that, and I'll work with Chief Mulick on that part, and Chief Brown actually.
Okay, thanks.
Very good. Any other questions for Chief Dieters? Okay, very good. All right. Kirk Hambley, volunteers.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. And for our April meeting, we had both BC Dieters and Kinney join in. BC Dieters gave his monthly organizational update, and BC Kinney reviewed expectations for volunteer drills monthly. We're gearing up for elections, our annual elections, so that'll be over the next month or so. And then also in April, I know I spoke on this last month, but just want to reiterate, we had the roundtable with the chiefs, expressed to Chief Brown how much we appreciated his time and his input, and look forward to continuing that relationship through quarterly roundtable meetings. I can answer any questions you may have.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any questions for President Hambley? Okay. Last thing on the agenda is correspondence. Any questions on that? It looks like we had a duckling rescue. That's always a good thing, always a fun thing. Always nice to help out. Seems like that's kind of a thing this time of the year, is those duckling finding those storm drains. Looks like we all get challenged with that occasionally. Any other questions or comments about the correspondence and informational items? Okay. Well, hearing none, the next board meeting will be June 20. The next regular board meeting will be June 21st at 6 p.m. right here on Zoom, most likely. Then just a reminder, we do have budget committee on Wednesday the 19th at 6 o'clock right here on Zoom. So is there anything else before we adjourn from anybody that wants to say or make a comment? Okay, good enough. The regular board meeting of the Board of Directors is now adjourned at 7:18 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.